Hey guys, Tomas here. Just want to make a quick video to share my story of how I went from really hating reading books to reading up to 8 books per day. Now, immediately before we go any further, I want to clarify what is this all about, or how can you say you're even reading 8 books a day? And I had made a video a couple years ago called How I Went From Not Reading to Reading 7 Books a Day, which got a lot of interesting feedback. Some people loved it, and a lot of people just hated it completely. So in this video, I want to give a little bit more clarity, share a little bit of my own story of how I went from really hating reading books completely to then reading up to 8 books per day. And now I'm reading something more like several books per week. So what is reading books? Now, with a lot of books, you don't necessarily need to read the whole thing to get the joke. And then, it's not like I was reading a book in 10 minutes, but with a lot of books, I was only dedicating something like an hour or 1.5 hours for a single book. And with business books, with self-development books, you can say that is reading, and you still get what's important for you, at least enough so you can apply, so you can use it. Now, I don't necessarily recommend that you're gonna read 8 books per day constantly, or even 1 book per day constantly necessarily, but it's great if you know how to do that, and if you know how to read several books a day, to then go ahead and read maybe several per week. It's then much easier to read several books per week when you know how to read several books per day. So in this video, I'm gonna share a little bit of my own story here, and update it all the way up till where I am now, and then also give you some real tips and feedback, and also give you some practical, applicable advice so that you can also learn how to read several books per day, and then basically schedule your life and your days so you read as much as you would like. So let's look back 4 years ago. And at that point, I was really looking what I wanted to do in life. I was still in school, and I was thinking, what is it that really drives me? What is it that I should do so I can feel really fulfilled, and so I can, not live according to society standards, but live according to standards that I create for myself. To live according to my own values and not be trapped in a little box. And fortunately enough, I had some really wise and experienced people tell me that you can learn a lot through books, and that you can actually learn how to take your life where you're currently at, basically decide where you want to go, and you can do that much faster with books, with mentors, and with other resources that you can actually use to attain your goals faster and more efficiently. And even beyond that, you can actually learn to set those right goals, that right vision for yourself, and then the action steps that will take you there fastest if you read more. And then I was learning more about new areas, I was learning more about myself, and that's where books really came in handy for me, and where I started reading more and more and more. After taking my mentor's workshop, I actually went through a streak, which was 5 days, where I was reading morning till evening, basically several books per day. So that was 5 to 8 books in a single day. So I was reading them, mapping them down, and then not really using a lot of what I was reading, but I was basically learning how to speed read. I wasn't necessarily focusing on learning those skills or those things that are in the books, although I did learn a lot just from that period, but I was mainly learning how to speed read because I really wanted to learn it fast. I really wanted to get it fast, and having gotten the right tools from my mentor, I just wanted to put them into practice and learn how to speed read as fast as possible. So that was pretty badass, not having read any books before that, except for a summer where I read 90 audiobooks, or listened to 90 audiobooks in one summer. So that was also huge. But before that, I really hated reading. I didn't see any value in books. And only when I started kind of focusing on my own growth and shifting my focus basically to myself and to developing myself more, and did I actually see the value of reading. And then once you see the value of reading, you naturally want to read basically as much as would serve your growth the most. Now, that's not to say that it's going to be 8 books per day. Maybe it's just going to be 8 books in a month, say. That's really the most efficient for you right now, to read 8 books a month to grow the most. But in this video, I want to show you as well how you can read even several books in a single day, so then it's much easier to then go ahead and read several per month or whatever you like. But let's wrap up with my story. How did I eventually go from really hating reading and not knowing what I want to do in life to where I am today, running businesses, traveling, and just really having a blast with my life. So the next big stage then, after learning how to speed read, was naturally the stage of application, where I was thinking, where do I really use this knowledge? Because I've read a bunch of books on business, but I didn't really know how I can actually start, And that's a mistake a lot of people make is just they get way too much theory instead of just starting and learning as they go. And the most efficient approach is to learn and read books and work with mentors as you're already doing something, as you have set a certain vision for yourself. So it's really amazing to, in the beginning, to actually set out the right vision of where you want to go, of what you really want to do, and then, dissect it into smaller action steps and into smaller chunks, and then use books and mentors, seminars and other resources just as leverage to move closer towards your vision and towards fulfilling those goals. But enough side tangents here. So what happened to me next was I was like, this is really changing me. This is really changing the way I think. Books are really amazing, but how do I create some more freedom for myself so I don't need to do a day job, so I don't just need to live the life normal people live of mediocrity and basically not grow at all. And I decided that I want to start putting it into practice. So I started a blog. I started, basically I put myself in a place where I just had to apply at least one thing from the books that I read. And that completely changed everything. Now I don't even read unless I see how I can actually put it into practice and how I can really gain something tangible from it. So a key nugget here for you to pick out is that when you're reading, focus on what you can apply, on what you can use, and what of a transformation you can have in your life from reading. And look at reading as a vehicle to actually grow in all those different areas, relationships, communication, in business, and basically to become better and better and better at them with the more books you read. So focus on practice, not just theory. And at this point, without a problem, I can actually go ahead, say grab 3 books and read them in 5 hours, map them down, and I already have the book downloaded in my mind. Now, that's not with all the books, but it works with a lot of books. With business books, self-development books, it works absolutely amazing. And my students have been able to do that as well. So let me share with you how you can use some practical steps in order to make that happen for you. And really, it changes people's lives. It's changed my life quite a bit. Before we get into the steps, I just want to share a story with one of my students. So for example, with me, it changed my life quite a bit. But then with even other people, what I really, really enjoy is when I work with them personally and teach them to speed read, is to actually recommend them some books that I really loved, as well as also books that I see could actually benefit them at the stage at which they're currently at. So say if they're struggling with their sexual life or with their relationships or with a particular issue in business, I can simply recommend them a book or a few there, and actually has a huge impact in their lives, especially if they're into applying what they're reading and what they're learning. And really, I have countless of examples, but people just really improve their business up to a point where they read 5 Richard Branson's books, say, and some other books, and then they're invited to a newspaper to actually share their life advice and their business advice. And now they don't only draw from their own experience, now they can draw from their own experience and also a bunch of other people, a bunch of really wise and experienced people that they're also taking in and basically having those ideas of these amazing people in their mind. And when you combine your own experience with those ideas, then it's just absolutely amazing what you can do. So that naturally changes their business if they actually apply those ideas and those concepts and those insights that they get. Then even with relationships, if you read a book, say, about radical honesty, it's one of my favorite books. It talks about being absolutely honest with the other person, with your emotions, with your thoughts, your feelings. And I remember having a talk with my family and basically disclosing what I really thought was happening, their relationships, my relationship with them, and that completely changed the whole dynamic of our family, just with one interaction like this. So if you really can actually take what you're learning and apply in your daily life, see, on Sunday, 12 p.m., you're gonna go have lunch with your family and talk to them openly, for instance. And you get that from reading a book. Now you really begin to see how books have changed my life and the countless lives of my students. So here we are at the second part of the video, which is how do you do it? And I've been basically helping people do that for a couple of years now, just coaching people how they can read faster. So I'm going to condense it here for you in 4 simple steps, which is the method I teach for anyone to learn how to read any book much faster. And this is what I call more of an information handling technique. I've made some videos before on the basic speed reading techniques, which are more focused on actually reading faster, reading the words faster, or if you want to learn it right now, go ahead and check out the link in the video description below. But for now, I'm just going to share with you the 4 steps that I use to read anything faster. So say you have a self-development or a business book. What you want to do is not just start reading it immediately, but actually start by just flipping through it. And you may have heard it in previous speed reading advice, but if you only do these 4 steps I'm going to share with you now, you're going to be able to read any book in just several hours and at least cut down your reading time in half. Then if you use some other techniques, then you can even cut that in half again. So say from 8 hours, go to reading in 2 hours, the same book. So for now, let's just go from 8 to 4 hours. And then the first advice, once again, the first step is that you want to flip through the book before reading it. So look at the top cover, back cover, just flip through the book page by page and just get the general structure of the book. Step number 2 is where you want to then set the goals for reading the book and also set a certain time for the book, say 90 minutes. And you set what you want to get out of the book. So if it's a book on speed reading, maybe your goal is to learn the most efficient drills you can practice every day, and then just some ways to read a book. So that would make sense. And 90 minutes is perfectly enough for most speed reading books. And even for most self-development, for most business books, just invest 90 minutes in those and you're good. Now, for some books that are super deep and super amazing, you may still spend like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. The example I usually like to give is The 8th Habit by Stephen R. Covey, which took me about 2.5 hours to read. But the first step then is we want to just flip through the book. The second step is we want to figure out what are the important bits of the book for you. And at this point then, you can read the table of contents. You can go through the book. You can look at the first and last chapter of the book. You can look at the first and last paragraphs in the chapter if you're still not sure if they're important. And then basically just find out at the step what is really important here for you. And be honest with yourself. Is this something that's really important for me, or is this something maybe I'm gonna need in 2 years, maybe? So that gives a lot of clarity already as what books to read and what to read in different books. And at this point, when you've flipped through the book, when you're already wondering what's important for me, and you picked out what specifically is important in the book for you, maybe you've put some of that in a mind map already, or maybe you're just marking some things in the book or marking in your mind that this is important and this is important and this is important. And then at step 3, this is where reading really begins. And you can now read the introduction of the book, or you may have done that already in the second step, just reading the introduction when you're picking out what's really important for you. Not necessary to read the acknowledgements usually, but if you just read the introduction, you're already on the right track. And then at step 3, what you do is you want to start mind mapping the book. So I've made a video or 2 about mind mapping. You can just search my channel for how to mind map books and learn how to mind map books very, very easily. But the short version of it is that you have the main idea of the book or the name of the book here, and then some branches that are either the chapters of the book or some of the main ideas of the book. And then coming out of them are some less important bits, or maybe just more down the scale of the whole mind map. But I explain that better in the How to Mind Map Books video, so check that out for more. And basically it also covers this whole third step, or simply grab the free course at the description box of this video, and that's going to be covered there as well. Now the last fourth step, once you've mind mapped the book and once you've focused on what's really important and just took that out of the book, download it into your mind, put it on a mind map, and then you can really use it. It's really very, very effective. And really, if you have any book, that's self-development book or a business book, that's the absolute most effective approach to actually take on this book. Set, say, 1.5 hours for the book, flip through it, look at what's important for you, and then mind map that, put that on paper. And eventually, if you really want to make sure you remember what you're reading, say you have a presentation to make or something like that, or just really want the information to basically be stuck in your mind and that you really want to have it there, what you can do then is you can, before you go to bed, just look at the mind map once again, and even after you finish reading, just look at the mind map once again, then before you go to bed, when you wake up. And if you even want to take it a step further, you can actually do that and review them periodically. Say every week you look at the mind map, for every month you look at the mind maps of that month. So these are just some of the ways to really make sure you remember better, but already mind mapping helps the fourth step, which is basically how to remember all of this. And this is the cheat code we basically use. Once again, if you'd like to learn more, go ahead and grab the free course in the video description, or simply by clicking here. And I'm gonna send you the course right away so you can get your speed reading practice to the next level, replicate my results, and actually transform the key areas of your life. And then please, when you watch the free course, let me know in the comments, or just shoot me an email and say, hey, this is what happened to me, this is how my life has changed. And I truly believe that a lot of people can change their lives simply by learning to speed read, reading more books, and actually applying what they are reading. So this was Tomas, your speed reading coach, signing off from the beautiful river banks here in my home town, Kaunas in Lithuania. And hope to see you at the next videos. Go ahead and grab the free course right here, and I'll speak with you later. Bye.